This bill gives Parliament the chance to put Rwanda's safety beyond question in the eyes of this country's law. It deems Rwanda safe using a notwithstanding clause. Right? We haven't done that before.
Well, that's not surprising, given Lord Garnier has rightly pointed out that passing a bill to declare Rwanda is a safe country is like passing one to say all dogs are cats. The Prime Minister wants to put into law something we all know is simply not true. He wants to legislate a lie. It's like me saying I'm James Bond and the Prime Minister passing a new law to say it's true. Passing a bill to say Rwanda is safe doesn't make it safe. It's utter insanity.
It disapplies relevant sections of the Human Rights Act.
Just listen to that again.
It disapplies relevant sections of the Human Rights Act.
Yes, an act of Parliament that breaches international law is still valid domestic law, but it will still remain a breach of international law. So imagine the shock for the Prime Minister when he finds out being valid domestic law is not an excuse for a government to breach international law. And whilst the emergency bill stops short of leaving or disapplying the European Convention on Human Rights in its entirety, the Prime Minister himself has actually admitted it was the Kigali government which stressed the need for the UK's legislation to be compatible with international law. Just think about that. Rwanda is now having to tell the UK government it must observe international law and human rights. How did we allow our country to get to this point?
We clearly have a problem with human rights law in this country that is making it difficult for us to achieve our objectives.
The Prime Minister has made clear what may come next.
But of course, even with this new law here at home, we could still face challenges from the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. So let me repeat what I said 2 weeks ago. I will not allow a foreign court to block these flights. If the Strasbourg court chooses to intervene against the express wishes of our sovereign parliament, I will do what is necessary to get flights off.
It's a clear threat from the Prime Minister he's willing to join countries like Russia and Belarus outside the European Convention on Human Rights if he doesn't get his way. Remember, the ECHR protects our right to a fair trial, freedom of assembly and expression, the right to participate in free elections, freedom of religion, freedom from discrimination, the right to privacy, freedom from torture and degrading treatment. And the argument we could just leave and use Brexit freedoms to create our own Bill of Rights presupposes we can actually trust the government implementing it with our human rights in the first place. How can we possibly trust this government with our human rights when it's already trying to curtail our human rights under the existing convention we're already a part of? Over the past 12 months, this government has locked millions of people out of the electoral process. It stripped back our right to protest, limited our rights to judicial review, and robbed millions of workers of their democratic right to strike. Does that sound like a government we can trust with our human rights? It would be like handing a kitten over to a hungry crocodile. Emergency legislation to disapply human rights? To legislate barefaced lies dispensed with courts and threats to join Russia and Belarus outside the European Convention on Human Rights? This is not the country we are. Everyone must now stand together and unite against this government.